Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting live here at Dizzy's Club Coca-Cola. Canadian composer, alto saxophonist, and soprano saxophonist Christine Jensen tonight is performing selections off her brand new CD, Treelines. It's a reflection of her love and affinity for big band as well as large ensemble compositions and music. Tonight she's going to be joined on stage with her sister Ingrid, who plays trumpet, and this latest CD is really a reflection of, I guess, composers that really influenced her, like the likes of Duke Ellington, as well as Maria Schneider and Gil Evans. Treelines. This is the very first album that you've recorded with an 18-piece orchestra.
It is the first. I hope it's not the last, but it's the first.
This is taking a lot of music listeners back to the whole Gil Evans, Maria Schneider, Duke Ellington. I mean, this is very courageous. I mean, these compositions are very out there.
Tonight I'm saying ambitious, but yeah, I look for diversity in my music in terms of those influences like you mentioned, actually. And there's a few others like Rob McConnell, who's a Canadian big band leader, that just the people I grew up with, Count Basie. I mean, all of it is, to me, in my music. It's like a big, gorgeous feast of ideas that I've probably stolen mostly from these people and hopefully made something of my own with.
You have, because I think what I've found very interesting about this CD is your writing. I mean, it's very innovative and kind of witty.
Dark sometimes, too. I mean, it's funny because I get different descriptions all the time, and I like it all. The thing I like is that everybody has a different interpretation of what they feel to it, and I think I'm the last person that can sort of say it sounds like this or that, because I'm so subjective at this point. But to have other people give me their feedback on it is always really an interesting and fun thing to listen back to after all the work.
This CD has been nominated for Juno for Contemporary Jazz Album, and that's the equivalent of the Grammys in Canada.
Exactly, and actually it's won a few other things recently with some musical arts organizations in Canada too that are smaller, but the Juno's the big one for Canadians. So yeah, that's at the end of March.
Treelines is somewhat also your love of nature and some of the events of growing up in your hometown.
Yeah, the region of the West Coast, and if there's Americans listening, I'd say it's close to Seattle in the Pacific Northwest, which it is. It's the Pacific Northwest. And just, I've lived away from it for 20 years now, but I go home to it all the time. And it's, to capture it, I've kind of studied a lot of writers that are Canadian mostly, and painters, and sort of thought about the way they've been able to capture the beauty and the supernatural of it, which is these majestic trees colliding with these mountains, with this ocean, and it's just so dramatic. And so there's so much, again, opposites going on all the time. And then writing the music, I wrote some in Paris, I've written some in New York, I've written some in Montreal, and it just seems like I'm always going back to that as a source. It's just the beauty of the place. So that's sort of what a lot of the music on the album is about.
You know, doing a big band album in 2011 is, one, very, very time consuming and very, very expensive because you have to pay the musicians. And if you want to travel with this is crazy. I mean, you're in New York playing it with Dizzy's with the like of Steve Wilson. And it's this very hard for you right now because writing for an ensemble like this is totally different when you playing with your quartet or quintet.
Exactly. I guess I think of it as sort of a yin and yang approach to a whole bunch of things, or juxtapositions. I mean, I love playing in my quartet or in quintet with Ingrid, or I have a sextet that I was deeply involved with for quite a while, and I think all of it just evolved into my love of big band music on top of all of it all. And then I just went, okay, I have to put a few things down, and it gradually grew. So it's a culmination of events that this big band thing happened. It wasn't always right in front of me. It really grew out of a whole bunch of other projects, so which are previous small group CDs I've recorded. There's a few of the pieces in there, and then there are a few things I wrote specifically for this band, for this idea of a band. On the topic of leading a big band and running a big band, I can't say enough how much hard work it's been the past couple of years to put the CD out and to invest my time and energy into it. And that has been a huge growth for me in terms of taking my music to a place where I really had to take really large risks, I think, to do. So that was about it.
Tell me about the beginnings, because you and your sister grew up in, northern Canada?
I'd say it's the southwest corner, actually. Just above Seattle is Vancouver, and then across the way is a place called Nanaimo, where another very famous, well-known musician named Diana Krall is from. And actually, we were in school behind her, so she was a really great influence in giving us an idea that we can actually go out there and perform. And isn't that weird? It's a bit, I mean, it's so funny, but yeah, we grew up with Diana Krall in front of us, and at the same time, our mother had a gorgeous record collection of just really great music. I don't want to say it's just jazz, but one part of her collection was a lot of piano trio like George Shearing and Oscar Peterson, and that was probably the foundation of my jazz listening.
I understand that Oscar Peterson and Gil Evans is kind of the two gods that kind of was like, okay, this is it.
Yeah, they made me quit piano. I wanted to be a piano player, and I still hack away at it. And I think it's so cool because upon losing that dream in a way, because I had it as a young performer, I also was playing saxophone, which is my main instrument now, and that's a whole other bag of things. But those musicians just, I think, in a way, impressed me so much that I was like, I can't go there. I want to be like that so much. But I checked them out heavily, both those musicians, and I think they both had different angles on the concept of feel and time and swing and groove and all these things, and then of course there's a bucket of other people I listened to at the same time, but they were definitely a foundation for me because of that being in my house.
What is Christine Jensen's voice as a composer, musician, and now mother?
Until the last one, I was gonna say I'd leave it up to the audience to decide, but what am I leaving? Man, I just hope I'm leaving memories for people that they got to hear something that moves them somehow, hopefully positively, but just to get a reaction from my listeners and my musicians. There's sort of things first you're thinking about yourself, then you're putting your music in front of your musicians, and then they're transferring it to the audience. So out of all of that, I hope that I'm just leaving a mark of working with, again, in a space and time concept that leaves something original that people can sort of look back on or listen back on, the way I get to listen back to so many great musicians.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report, reporting live here at Dizzy's Club Coca-Cola, here at Jazz at Lincoln Center here in New York City. I'd like to personally thank Ingrid as well as Christine Jensen for their time, as well as the staff and management here at Dizzy's. As always, please visit my website, www.thepacereport.com, for my weekly column as well as my past segments. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Until next time, peace.